It's up to you, New York, New York. Welcome back to another episode of the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast here on Facebook and YouTube. I am your host, Richie, here with my guy, Mr. Idris Salam, aka Bosco from the Bronx. How you doing, brother?
I've lived my life a ravaged fool. I traveled each. What's up, y'all? That's my Elvis Presley.
I'm feeling good, man. I'm feeling good.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Had a fun time yesterday, Easter Sunday. Got to hang with my
Hmm.
brother, his kids, his wife.
Yep. Yep.
Uh, my mother cooked for a small village.
Hmm.
A lot of food.
Word. Word.
And a lot of good food, So definitely enjoyed that. Didn't enjoy the
Yes, sir.
Yankees blowing
Yeah.
that game yesterday, but we're gonna hit on it. But the first news I want to speak on was not something that I thought I was going to speak on about 10 minutes ago.
Hmm.
Just came over my ESPN feed as we were prepping for the show. Giants nose tackle, former All-Pro Dexter Lawrence, according to Adam Schefter, is requesting a trade. And the first thing that comes to my mind is maybe from a philosophy-based standpoint, he doesn't like the direction of the defense under new coach John Harbaugh. That's all I could think why Dexter would want to, request a trade. This is a guy that has, over the years expressed his love for the New York Giants. And I do want to
Hmm.
make one thing clear. Just because a player requests a trade doesn't mean it's going to happen.
Right.
And just because a player requests a trade doesn't mean he really wants to leave. There could be some behind the scenes stuff that will be revealed. But as
Hmm.
far as the production goes, Dexter Lawrence has not per se been the guy that we expected him to be last year. And my experience with watching the NFL is when a perennial Pro Bowl talent, a former All Pro, has a stink bomb of a year like that, it's usually more to come.
Hmm.
And while I don't like to pigeonhole players and say that, he can't get it back, so to speak, it's not always about statistical value when you're a nose tackle
Right.
because, there's a lot of things that don't get on the stat sheet, so to speak. Like if you're running into a lot of double teams
Right.
and, other guys are getting to the quarterback, other guys are making tackles.
Hmm.
But truthfully, we saw Dexter Lawrence struggle against guys with less experience, backup centers, all kinds of stuff that we were like, yo, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Um,
I,
the infamous Carl Banks situation where he called him out. And, I'm not saying that Carl Banks is holier than thou just because he's a Giants legend.
hmm
But when I think about our history and, our team culture, it did disappoint me that Dexter disrespected Banks instead of just keeping it football and just manning up, so to speak. Like you got to play better, and Carl covers the team, and he's allowed to tell you that.
I agree. I mean, I don't want Dexy to leave because I like him, and like I said off air, I really like him as a player. I like him as a person. I think he has a great personality. I think he's New York. But if he wants out, well, hey, good riddance. We're trying to build something in New York, and I like what we're building. And it might be he may be like you said, he may ask for that trade, but he may not want. It might be something inside, that could be resolved. Who knows? But
Yeah,
Carl
sometimes
Banks
it's like
calling him.
it's like a up and down relationship. Like you want them
Yeah,
to you want them to tell you that they still love you, kind of thing.
yeah. Like how Jimmy Butler was. I want you to tell me that you love me. And with Carl Banks calling him out, I don't have a problem with the legends, especially legends who have the hardware, who've been there, done that, know what it took to win. And when you're being coached by Bill Parcells, and you got Tom Coughlin as your DC, you got the general, you have his, it's rough. So they went through those battles. So he's
Yeah, you
saying, look,
got
man,
yeah.
pick it up. You're the
Yeah, you got
leader. Let's
Belichick
go.
running the defense. Belichick
I mean,
runs the
Belichick.
defense here.
Belichick. Yeah. That's what
You got
Belichick.
you got Coughlin as your special teams guy. It
Right.
was you got Coach Parcells as the lead dog, also in the war room, the lead dog.
Right.
And Mr. Mara, rest his soul, back then was the kind of guy that he let football people do football things.
Right.
His voice was heard when it needed to be. He
Right.
was a pioneer in the league for a lot of different reasons. But the point to be made is, um, you're coming off a bad year. There ain't no way to
Yeah.
go around it. The
Right.
defensive front on the whole was a disappointment outside
Yeah.
of Brian Burns.
Right.
I feel that Abdul Carter, as the year continued to progress, was getting better and better.
Yeah. I think Abdul just had to get his head right because he was a little lackadaisical and not following rules. Once he got disciplined, I think he picked his head up and said, "Let's go. Let's play some football." Yeah.
No, no question
Uh,
about it. And with this new information,
mhm.
depending on, let's say it comes to fruition, he does get traded. One would think that the New York Giants are now also in the market for a defensive tackle. So I'm just going to name a couple of guys that I've mocked to the Giants in various ways. Now,
Mhm.
Caden McDonald out of OSU, they have a lot of defensive studs that are being
Yeah.
mocked in the first and second rounds.
Yeah.
Um, so I would say that Caden McDonald suddenly could be a focal point for a guy you might want to draft in round two,
Hmm.
depending on what you do in round one. And I think the consensus says that if he's on the board, it's going to be Sonny Styles.
Yeah.
And I've said this on frequent shows, many shows. Clip that. If the New York Giants do not have the ability to draft either Arvell Reese or Sonny Styles, because there are some mocks that I've done where they both are off the board,
Hmm.
then you could maybe turn your attention to looking at teams like the Chiefs, the Saints, the Dolphins, the Bengals. Stay in the back part of the top 10 or just outside and go get yourself a corner, as well
Hmm.
as an additional pick in the draft, like mid levels. So, there's definitely, a plan A, B, and C when a lot of these teams go into drafts. And, as far as the defensive tackle position goes, in this draft, I don't think you necessarily have to get one early. You can get a quality player like a Dante Corleone late in the draft.
Hmm.
You can get a Zane Durant out of Penn State later in the draft. You don't necessarily have to go for the creme de la creme of defensive tackles right away. There are options. There are plenty of options, but this is the first, I would say, negative thing in this
Yeah.
new regime, new Harbaugh era, because you don't like to hear that star players want out. But at the
Right.
same time, with a new regime comes new faces. And
Hmm.
I'm a firm believer, trust the process, because John Harbaugh has been a winner in this league for a good long time.
I agree. With Dexy, if we do trade him, um, we can get we can get some value, and that'll help us. And with defensive tackle, if you see a stud, of course you grab. And I remember Harbaugh saying about a month ago that we're going to grab the best available player, the best athlete they can get. I think with defensive tackle, if you see a stud, you grab him. But also, I
Mm.
see the defensive tackle. You can grab someone in the second round, third round, and you can build that guy up. You can coach him up. So I think with Harbaugh also, Harbaugh's tough nosed. That's why he's out of Baltimore because he didn't play that. And with a new regime is new philosophies and everything, and hopefully it's something that can be worked out and Dexy comes back and say, okay, let's ball. If not, well, thank you for what you've done, time to move on.
Well, the
You know.
irony in the situation is that in Dexter Lawrence's career, with the exception of the 2022 season,
Hmm.
the Giants have not done a lot of winning. And it's kind of a head scratcher, especially when you consider his college roots coming from a very winning program. Why would you want to go dipset now when a lot of inside people in the NFL feel that the Giants are a strong candidate to go from worst to first, or at minimum, show the NFL that, hey, we're getting close now?
That's what
You
I'm
know,
saying,
so
bro.
it is a little surprising. And it's not that you can't go to another team, another program, another coaching staff, another defensive coordinator and thrive.
Hmm.
But, I will do some reading on this. It literally came over the phone as we were getting into it, about to start. So, stay tuned and we'll see where this all goes from here. Pretty much the week of the NFL draft is where I'm going to be ramping up mock drafts. I know that contributor of the show, Mike Zappi, and I have spoken about figuring out when we're going to get in it. I think it would probably be a cool idea for us to have different members of the panel, even if we can't get them on for the same day, to do
Hmm.
multiple mocks. Like I'll do one with maybe Brett. I'll do one with you. I'll get
Yeah.
Zappy in here. Even Corey, who
Hmm.
is a well-versed baseball guy. We had
Yeah.
done a test run a couple of years ago with a mock draft with Corey, and I was
Yeah.
actually quite surprised how well Corey was drafting. And this is a guy who admittedly loves football, but is a baseball guy first. And, I spoke to Corey today. He most definitely wants to talk some baseball and some hoops later. And speaking of hoops, New York Knicks play the Atlanta Hawks on Peacock, also on the NBC network.
Hmm.
Potential first round matchup, Idris. It doesn't have the same kind of punch and pizzazz because, of course, hated villain Trey Young was traded earlier this year from the Atlanta Hawks. Former Nick Landry Fields is actually upstairs with the Atlanta Hawks.
Yes. Young guy. Ain't that something? Yeah, they got CJ McCollum in it. He's got Atlanta looking good, man. I think they did was good with the trade. Baldy, as I called him, Trey Young. I think he's just all flash. I mean, I'm not going to take away the guy can dribble, the guy can shoot, but he couldn't play defense.
No, no, no,
He
no.
was he wasn't a
And
leader. They got CJ McCollum who can play. He can play defense. He can shoot, and he's a leader, veteran. So yeah, Atlanta's not going to be a pushover, but I see us. We should win. We should win. After what I
yeah,
saw last week in Charlotte, I don't know.
I share
Oh
your
my goodness.
sentiments. Yeah, I share your sentiments, Idris. Speaking of those Charlotte Hornets, I did speak to Zappy off air with regard to them. He actually brought them up. He
Hmm.
feels that they're a team that has the ability to knock out a Detroit. And
Yeah.
I think Detroit's doing a nice job. Without your best player, you're still atop the East. You're going to go into these playoffs as the one seed. I look for teams that could shake things up. And it's hard to not land on the Miami Heat when you consider that head coach Eric Spoelstra has done this in the past with lower seeded Heat teams that have brought it to teams like the Knicks, like the Celtics.
Yeah.
Um, those Celtics firmly in the 2 seed. They're going to be your Atlantic Division champions, barring a miracle. And it looks like the Knicks, for the most part, are pretty much locked into the 3.
Yeah.
Um, as the season ended today, you're looking at Miami and the Magic, a Florida showdown in a play-in, which I think is
Hmm.
kind of exciting. I
Yeah, it
believe
is.
Orlando would have the home floor. Orlando's one of those teams that surprised me. I had higher aspirations for them this year. I'm not saying they can't get it together in the playoffs, but I think Orlando's yet again still 1 year away. But I am fearful that the Heat could be one of those teams that you're like, uh-oh, here we go again, because head coach Eric Spoelstra has always got the most out of whatever he's had to work with. And that's what makes him, in my opinion, a top 3 coach in the NBA, regardless of regular season records.
Yeah, Spo, man. I know he's getting in with the playing game and low seeds, man. But when he gets in there, that team runs. Yeah, he's got to be top 3 in the league right now. Yeah, okay, he hadn't won a championship. since what, 2013, 2014, 2013, 2012, somewhere around there. But the guy keeps, no matter what he has out there, the guy keeps a winner. He keeps a team
Idris,
pushing for the playoffs.
I'm getting a little bit of feedback on your end.
Really?
Yeah, a
I don't
little
hear
bit. It's
anything.
a little bit of crackling. Um,
Let me
no,
go in the
I'm with you
bathroom.
on. I'm I'm with you. I'm with you on Spo, Idris. Most definitely an excellent coach, a guy that can
Mhm.
get the most out of this Miami roster. But let me ask you this: as the 3 seed that it looks like the Knicks are probably going to end up being, is there a particular team that you would prefer to play? Like right now, it's the Atlanta Hawks. The Raptors still have a chance to fall into that. The Philadelphia 76ers can fall into that spot. Is there a particular team that you would want to see versus a team that you don't necessarily want to see?
I don't want to see the Heat. I don't care if they're in the playing game and they get in. I don't want to see the Heat. I'd rather see Orlando or Philly.
Yeah,
I
at
don't
the
want to see the Heat.
3, you're not going to worry about those guys unless they went on some
Right.
miraculous run because that's more where you're going to see the Detroit Pistons playing them. I will say this: I think the Charlotte Hornets are
Oh
going to do
yeah.
some damage in these playoffs. It's just something I'm sensing,
Yeah.
and I'm looking to see who is a upper seeded team that might have a very disappointing first round. And whether it's fair or not in the Western Conference, I'm landing on the Houston Rockets as possibly being a team that fumbles it early.
Me too. Same here. I'm going Houston with that also in the West. Yeah. Denver's a lower seed than normal, but I think that's good for them because the pressure's off of them. But Houston, I think their defensive issues. I mean, they can play defense, but we're in the playoffs, 0-0. You got to bring your best game, and I feel
A
they can
team
be
that I want to
vulnerable
see
early.
turn the corner, a team that
Mhm.
I want to see turn the corner is the Minnesota Timberwolves,
Me too. It's time.
but I don't think they will.
I don't either. Dude,
Uh,
that's a young team with experience. They should have already been in the Western Conference Finals already. They should have
yeah.
already been there.
I don't know how I feel completely about Minnesota, but I don't think they're going to go on a big run. I think your
Me
Western
neither.
Conference Finals, it's going to be OKC and it's going to be San Antonio. That's how I feel. San Antonio
Same here.
has matched up so well
Hmm.
with the Oklahoma City Thunder during the course of the year, and oddly enough, the New York Knicks have matched up
Yep.
so well with the San Antonio Spurs.
The Spurs are who I have going to the finals, and yeah. They just got two. Dude, they got Wemby. This guy's 10 feet tall, man. It's hard to shoot on this guy, dude.
Yeah, Wemby's an easy guy to like. The
Yeah,
guy
I
just
like
plays
him.
ball.
Yeah,
De'Aaron Fox has been a nice little pickup for them. The
yes,
Lakers, I think their ceiling is capped now because of the
yeah,
Luka Doncic injury.
yeah,
Um, yeah, it sucks. And speaking of that injury, um, we have Juan Soto, New York Mets superstar. We're gonna find out if it's an IL stint, but that calf injury
yeah.
definitely not what you want in April. This is a
Uh-uh.
team that, in my opinion, has heightened expectations, as they should because of their payroll. They're the number 2 payroll in baseball. The Yanks are 3, the Dodgers are 1. But this is my thing. I
Hmm.
just got done watching this 3-game series with the Yankees and the Miami Marlins, and I know it's only April, but the Miami
Hmm.
Marlins, let me tell you, Idris, this is a good young team.
They got some fight in them, dude.
Yes,
They
they
got that
do.
fight in
And
them.
they have the best record in Major League Baseball since mid-June last year. Zappy actually dropped that jewel on me. I wasn't aware of that. I know that they
That's a
had
that's
significantly
insane.
improved.
That's
I know
insane,
that they
dude.
had significantly improved, but when I
Hmm.
think about the teams that are supposed to be good in the National League East every year, Atlanta Braves, New York Mets, Philadelphia Phillies,
Phillies, yep.
I'm seeing more out of the Nats and the Marlins early on. And of course, things could change. But with the Marlins going into New York and rummaging that high performance bullpen a little bit, I personally think Aaron Boone made a boo boo taking Fernando Cruz out of yesterday's game. I was none pleased with
Yeah,
that.
I wasn't either,
Max
dude.
Fried, not as crisp last night as he was in his first 2 starts. I think there's a lot of variables, when you're waiting hours and hours to get the game started. Of
Yeah.
course, Miami really wanted to play that game because from a convenience level, it was going to hurt them worse than the Yanks if they didn't get that game in. But, another series win. Jazz Chisholm Jr. didn't get enough elevation on that ball late, but he was able to make it interesting. And
Hmm.
unfortunately, JC Estrada, our backup catcher, this is one that makes me scratch my head. I understand the lefty righty thing, but you
Hmm.
have Paul Goldschmidt, a former league MVP, who has been
Right
known to
on.
be a clutch guy when called upon, especially as a pinch hitter. He did it
Right.
last year in Texas, pinch hitting for Ben Rice. And then
Right.
you have Ahmed Rosario, who has always been a solid contact guy, not too good with the glove, and that's part of the reason why Ryan McMahon is manning down third, even though that average is atrocious.
Hmm.
These are guys I want to see getting at bats late in the games. I get it. Trial and error. It's only April. Da da da. I get it. And I got destroyed for suggesting that Giancarlo Stanton and Aaron Boone should bend their own rules about his load management when he's riding a hot streak. And you would have thought that I said Derek Jeter gave my sister herpes the way everybody was acting. But
You know what? With Goldie's experience, man, you got to put him in a pinch. You got to put him in there. And Stanton, yeah, he's on the count. Look, the guy is hot. I want to say hot. He's doing his thing. You got to let him do his thing.
and
You
I
got to let him
understand
do
that
his
this is
thing.
something that both player and manager agreed on, but at the end of the day, that's an open dialogue that continues to go on through the course of the year. But the way that I got assassinated on that post, I was kind of mind blown. I mean, I had people that were like on my side about the matter,
Yeah,
but I got called everything from a casual fan to somebody that
yeah,
doesn't understand baseball. It
yeah.
was pretty mind blowing, but you know what? It's necessary to see what it is because these are certain people that are going to be following another venture that I do. So I'm like, okay, I guess I got caught a little off guard because I'm like, damn, this is my fan base.
Yeah, I get that from the Giants fan base, bro. I hear you.
And I mean no disrespect, but they're two different animals with Giant fans and Yankee fans.
Yeah, that's true. That's
Because
very true. That's
once upon a
very true.
time, I'll never forget Pat Summerall and John Madden saying during a
Oh
playoff
yeah,
game
the
how
Giants
smart
fans.
Giant fans are.
Yes, things have changed since then.
And that's why they call YouTube a time machine.
Yeah, things have
Shouts out
changed.
shouts out to the Sneaky G show. I think Sneaky exhibited such phenomenal patience when arguing with a Bengals fan that was on his panel. It was just the two of them, and then the panel got opened up to many other people.
Hmm.
And the topic was Eli Manning, Hall of Fame candidacy, da da da. And it
Yeah.
wasn't so much that the Bengals fan didn't agree with Eli, but I
Hmm.
felt that the way that this person was expressing himself, you would
Hmm.
think that Eli Manning never did anything in any other season, which would be the furthest cry from the truth because,
Yeah.
football is a team sport. They all are. But,
Right.
football is the ultimate team sport. And I was really taken back with the way that this guy was trying to discredit Eli. And I'm not trying to act like, you ain't shit because you're a Bengals fan, but I'm like, dog,
Yeah.
are we really going to go there?
Right.
Who's your best quarterback ever? That's actually something that's worth discussing. I mean, I'm going to go with Joe
Yeah.
Hio, but Boomer had a little run there. Ken Anderson had a little
Ken
run
Anderson.
there. Carson
Yeah.
Palmer had a little run there. Even Andy Dalton had a little run there.
Yeah. Right.
But the point to be made is that, brother, you're throwing rocks from a very low place.
Yeah.
New York Football Giants are, among the winningest Super Bowl teams, regardless of the last 2 decades. And I'm just like, as Eli Manning goes, to say that all he did was have two playoff runs and did nothing else in his entire career because he didn't win playoff games in any other season is a little crazy.
You know what? How I look at Eli, bro. Eli is one of those quarterbacks who did a whole lot with very little.
And you know what it is? I don't even know if it's very little. I think it's very short sample sizes because he had elite players for short periods of time. Because
Yeah,
Hakeem Nicks,
yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, exactly.
Hakeem Nicks had injuries.
Yeah,
Victor Cruz had
Mario
a great ascension,
Manningham.
but
You
yeah,
know, you,
Odell Beckham, we know his story. He might even be back on the team this year. Who knows? But
mhm.
yeah, when I
But
when
he
I hear
never.
this kind of crap, it really bothers me.
But he really never had like, okay, we had Manningham and Hicks, Nicks, we had all those, but he really never had a team that like that 2017. We nearly had a whole different team in 2011. He never had that set of people we had. They say,
Yeah,
okay,
the
that's
offensive line was
yeah,
revamped.
right,
You had a different receiving room. Steve
yeah,
Smith went to the Eagles.
different
David
running back
Tyree was a
room.
Raven briefly, and then he was out of the league. The running back
Yeah,
room was the same for the most part,
hmm
but they weren't performing at the same level that they did 4 years earlier.
right, right.
Nix was there, no more Burris. Cruz was there, no more Smith.
We
It
had
was a
Randall,
lot different.
Ruben
Yeah.
Randall, Mister
Ruben
Mister
Randall
Short
was
Road.
yeah,
Yeah,
Ruben Randall was in between. He was in between the
yeah,
two teams.
yeah.
But
So he never had any consistency, you know. But he did what he did. He's in top 10 in almost every category. So you got
yeah,
to give him his
yeah, when he
props.
left the game, he was in the top 10 in most passing categories. I just think the thing that, and I said this because what I did was I went backstage on Sneaky's show
Hmm.
and I had like a mic drop moment.
Yeah,
And shout out to Sneaky because Sneaky showed some great patience listening to this guy.
yeah.
Um,
We got Giants fans like that the same way. Oh, Eli didn't do nothing. Eli did a whole lot more than what you think he did.
I
His
jumped in that
leadership
room.
alone.
I jumped in that room and I basically said, I've never seen another quarterback in the history of the NFL be under so much scrutiny and ridicule than Eli Manning just for having some defensive players.
Right,
We've said it so many times on the show to the level of exhaustion. No quarterback has ever won a Super Bowl with a lower ranked defense than Eli Manning. And I'm not going to try to take away the achievements of a defense that played at a much higher level when those 2011 playoffs started. They played well,
right.
but there are no playoffs without Eli Manning, Hakeem Nicks, and Victor Cruz. Eli threw
That's
for a
right.
hair under 5K.
Right.
Nobody even knew who Victor Cruz was, unless if you
Nope.
watched the preseason from the previous year where he had that phenomenal game against the New York Jets. Jim
Yeah.
Sorgi was the one tossing him those touchdowns. The longtime backup of Peyton, and then ultimately became Eli's backup for a brief while. Point I'm
Yeah.
making is you cannot write the story of the NFL without Eli Manning. And no, I'm
Right.
not saying that Eli's better than Breeze, Rodgers, maybe not even better than Favre. But the reality is that two of those three guys he beat in the playoffs. He beat the greatest winner of all time twice on the grandest stage. Tony
Right.
Romo had a great Cowboy team that Eli took down. And, a lot of it is just baffling to me. I'm not saying that he's first ballot. I'm not even saying that he shouldn't wait for a good part of a decade. But anybody that thinks that this man is getting in just because of his last name really needs to revisit the career.
Right.
There were so many variables. When he walked away from the 2011 season on top of the world for a second time, his win-loss ratios were very much on the plus side. But the
Right.
losses started catching as the team got dismantled
Right.
and not replenished properly.
Right.
And
You
I'm
know,
just at a loss for words how people don't consider that. How come nobody, when they talk about the greatness of Tom Brady, and yes, he is great,
yep.
I don't understand how nobody brings up the fact that he never won a Super Bowl without a top 10 defense or better. And a lot of those defenses were top 5 or better.
Yes, sir.
I mean, I'm not taking nothing away from Tom,
Right.
but like even with the Belichick stuff, when people try to discredit him, I'm like, who provided Brady with all those great defenses?
They don't see that. Exactly. Exactly.
It's
You got to have
insane
the
to me.
coach and the GM to build a team. And Belichick built that team. He built that team to win. You know?
And I mean, to be
Yeah.
fair, if Brady
Hmm.
doesn't come back from 28-3 and the Falcons just run the ball a little more,
Yeah.
and if Pete Carroll doesn't call that ridiculous slant route in the end zone and just gives it to beast mode, is Tom Brady even looked like the greatest
Nah.
winner, or is he looked like more like the NFL's version of LeBron?
Right. People don't look at those variables. They don't
It's
look at that.
disturbing to me. It
Yeah.
truly is disturbing to me. Back to the Yanks for a second, and then I'm going to pass it to you for some news and thoughts on the sweet science.
Hmm.
Um, Yankees are in a really good place. I've been stressing this on so many shorts lately
Yeah.
that April is so very important because it's a great opportunity to jump on the standings early. separate yourselves from teams that you know that once they get their act together are going to be factors. Toronto Blue Jays are the defending American League champions. They were so close to winning the World Series last year, but they are off to a surprisingly mediocre start.
Yes.
Yankees missed an opportunity to go up 4 games on them yesterday. However, um, it's a good start. I get it. Marlins tested our pitching a little. I do think weather played a part. I want to see Jazz Chisholm Jr. concentrate more. He's been making mistakes. Ryan McMahon, I don't know what we're going to do about his bat. His glove is elite. I want to see the Yankees have the audacity to start pinch hitting guys for McMahon later in games if this bat doesn't start waking up. But on the whole, with Giancarlo Stanton's really excellent start, Aaron Judge is Aaron Judge. I don't got to talk about him. I'll tell you the guy I'm really impressed with right now
Mhm.
is Ben Rice. Ben Rice, I said 30 home runs this year. I think this young man has a chance to hit 40.
Possibly.
I called that home run yesterday in the bottom half of the first, and I told Eddie, we were watching the ball game together. I said, Eddie, he's got him by the balls. This guy would be better off just walking him, but he's about to send one right into right field. Give it about 2 pitches. He's gonna throw him a waste pitch, and then he's gonna meet his fate. And sure as shit, that ball went flying. And Eddie's looking at me like, "Did you put anything on that?" I said, "I should have." But Ben Rice, just really emerging as a confident guy now. I still like Goldie in close situations, manning down first. And you gotta rotate the wheel, so to speak. Some days it makes sense for Stanton to DH. Some days it makes sense for Wrights to DH to get a blow off of first base. And no, he's not as good of a first baseman as Paul Goldschmidt yet. But this is invaluable experience that young Ben Rice is catching, and he's in a really, really good position. It appears that I may have lost Idris for a second. So, in case you're just happening now, what we've already spoken about, Dexter Lawrence requesting a trade from the New York Football Giants. New York Knicks playing the Atlanta Hawks today. Potential first round preview as the NBA is wrapping up within the next week or so before the playing games. And we're speaking about the Yankees right now. We're speaking about some of the stuff that we're seeing in MLB going down. I will say this. Philadelphia Phillies, a far cry from what they've been lately. I think you might see some superstars being dealt if the team doesn't start performing at a better level. New York Mets, the pressure is on to perform this year. Second highest payroll in baseball. This is a team that is expected to be amongst the elite in MLB. They're not off to the best start. Atlanta Braves, maybe I needed to temper my expectations for them. They are not playing nearly as well as I expected. Toronto Blue Jays, defending American League champions. I just spoke on it. Yankees off to a nice start. You need that because in the dog days of summer, when you go on a rough little stretch, it is invaluable to have those extra games up on them. I'm going to give Idris a moment to come back in, and let's see if there's anything else I want to speak on here while I wait for Idris to rejoin. I want to talk about this photo, and I want to talk about that person in the blue. My grandma Nancy, today is her birthday. She passed away way, way back in 1994. My grandma Nancy was the kind of person that was always the loudest at the games. She famously used to bring the cowbells. You could always hear her, along with a friend of my father's, Miss Barbara Stevens. Rest in peace to those two beautiful ladies. Barbara was a really amazing woman, mother of Chamari Willis, a teammate of mine, a camp counselor of mine, just a cool guy. One thing about where I grew up is that when the Inwood Buccaneers played football, it was all community and everything shut down. And my grandmother basically went to every single game until she physically could not no more. But one of my most favorite moments of my young years was we packed a ton of kids in each car and we were on our way to our game, all in uniform. And one by one by one by one at my grandmother's front door, she was hanging out with her best friend, Rosie Pappas. all loving on her, giving her a hug, and saying that we were going to miss her because it was probably the first game she had missed in, I don't know, 5 years or something like that. And, just really a coming of age moment for me. And I just want to say, Grandma Nancy, I think there's something about being, you know, going to your final resting place on your birthday, which happened back in 94, passing away 4 days before it. Something that's very spiritual about that, something that's very like freeing of the soul about that. My grandmother is buried in my family plot in Valhalla, very beautiful area. Lou Gehrig, I often see his grave when I go there. Buddy Holly is also in that cemetery. But Grandma Nancy, all these years later, you were the first profound death in my life. And I just want to say that I still remember your smile. I still remember the holidays. I still remember the bickering with Grandpa that years later could be really laughed at. But you were one of one. You were amazing. You are missed, and you will never be forgotten. Happy birthday, Grandma Nancy. I love you.
Happy birthday. Yeah, my bad, y'all. We had an accident out here. Hit the pole and Wi-Fi
Idris,
went
you
out.
with me?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Idris, I think your mic's off.
Oh, hold on a second.
Let me put this up on the screen here. I think Idris doesn't realize his mic might be off, or maybe he's having some connection issues.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? No?
Idris, you with me, bro? Idris.
Yeah, can you hear me now? Yeah, I'm here.
Idris, your mic is off. Idris, your mic is off. Gonna hang here for a second. I don't know if Idris where he is, but he's not seeing this apparently. Wanted to give Idris a chance to talk about some boxing. Oh, here he is. All right. Well, I'll hang tight for a second. Trying to think if there's anything else particularly that I want to speak on my end before I pass it over to you.
Can you hear me now?
As you guys know, it is mock draft season. It
Yo,
seems like the consensus number one, without question, is going to be Fernando Mendoza.
Yo, can you hear me?
I personally would always entertain any and all trades because you never know. You never know what you can get unless if you actually talk turkey with other teams. But given the Raiders' situation, it does appear that Fernando Mendoza will be their number one overall pick in the draft.
Can you hear me?
But I must say that this is one of the more intriguing drafts because, truthfully, 2 through 10, while you could have a million mock drafts, I don't necessarily know for sure which way everything's going to go.
Can you hear me now, Jeff?
I really don't. Mike Zappi, if you're listening, I would really like for you guys to talk this out, Mike Zappi. Because whether it's a cop out or not, it's not my issue, bub. You know, you're my boy. So's the guy that's over here in the other camera. I would really like you guys to just talk about it. But to be very frank with you, and I mean this in a diplomatic way, kind of tired of hearing about it.
Yo, can you hear me?
This is my mock draft here. Sonny Styles. I did this one about 2 days ago. We got Emmanuel McNeil Warren, safety.
Can you hear me?
Dominique Orange. He would be a nice little replacement for Dexter Lawrence. Malik Muhammad out of Texas. Solid corner. Still has to work on his technique. Malachi Fields standing tall at 6'4".
Hey, yo, can you hear
from
me?
my favorite college, the University of Notre Dame.
Richie.
Got us a guard from Notre Dame as well. And James Brockenmeyer, definitely a guy that has some work to do, but could be potentially a good interior lineman, maybe at the center position down the road for the New York Giants. He's a Miami Hurricane. Idris, you with me?
Hear me? Yeah, can you hear me?
It seems like Idris is not hearing me.
Can you hear me?
Idris, you hear me? Yeah, for some reason, it appears that Idris is just not being able to be heard here. I think I'm going to end up. Let me see. We got a comment coming in. I need you to say something, Idris. I don't know what's up with your mic, but it's not working. It appears that your
Dang.
mic's not working. Well, I think we're going to cut it a little short today, and that's okay. I think we talked about more of what we did want to talk about. Might actually be back tonight again, as friend of the show Corey Rain will be joining us, and mock draft season around the corner. So looking forward to it. And for Idris, I am Richie. If you haven't already, please make it a point to like and subscribe to the channel, the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast on YouTube. I'm going to try this one last time. Idris
One,
is
two,
added to
one,
the
two.
stage.
Can
Idris,
you hear
now
me?
you're there. I hear you great now.
We had an accident out here, hit the pole, and my Wi-Fi went out, and I had to go out here and hook up my phone and use my data. Hey,
I
I heard
tell you,
everything you said.
I
Yeah,
have never ever seen more weather condition or just act of God stuff happen in Asheville. Because I remember one time when you guys were kind of braving out a storm, I heard this
yeah.
big boom, and next thing you know, you were off the show, and I said, "Well, I know it's just the area. I know that he didn't get zapped out, so to speak. No pun
Actually,
intended.
something else.
No
Actually,
no
something
pun
else, dude.
no pun intended. It's
Oh, I heard
that
you.
was the first. Yeah,
Oh, as I
but
was saying about boxing, because
yeah,
I know you trying to close the show. First of all, let me say some Angel Reese traded to the Atlantic Dream. She's gonna be alongside Brittany Griner. This should help her because she can rebound. She can get you 10 to 12 points, but now she got Brittany Griner, someone in the middle. She can get a rebound, so that's gonna help Atlanta. They need help. As for boxing,
slow
first
down
of all,
one
Clarissa,
second, Idris, before you go to
yeah,
boxing.
yeah,
In your opinion, why would someone as popular in terms of what the Angel Reese character? It's not just a player; it's a character. Do you feel
mhm.
that that's a mistake to deal her because of her marketability?
No, I think it's a good idea. They got two first round picks for her.
Fair
I
enough.
think it'll
All right,
help.
continue.
I think, but I think it'll help her being in Atlanta now. I think that will blow her brand up because
Well,
Atlanta.
you got a legend
Atlanta,
in Brittany Griner right next to you. So, yes,
yeah,
in that regard, I do believe that it's interesting. So, thank you for the scoop on that. I didn't even know Angel Reese got traded. When did this happen?
today, this happened today, right before we went on
Okay,
there.
so I feel better
Yeah,
in knowing that I wasn't sleeping through it too hard.
no, no. As for boxing, I think I might have mentioned on last show, but Chris Cyborg, of course, she called out Carissa Shields and said, "Look, I will fight you. His $2 million, which is more than what Carissa Shields has made in any other fight." She said, "I will fight you. I will move up to 160. Are you willing to come down?" I haven't heard anything out of Carissa Shields. I can't think the girl's name. I just had it online. She's also just won her fight over the weekend, and she's like, "Hey, let's go, let's fight, let's fight." Chris Shield hasn't said anything. Fedora, as we saw last week, he dominated Keith Thurman, and because she run her mouth, but still, Keith Thurman, be quiet because you got your ass whooped. You got your ass whooped. Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather. Mayweather still saying this is an exhibition fight. Pacquiao and his team say no, it's not. Netflix said no, it's not supposed to be a sanctioned fight. They don't know if it's going to go on. Pacquiao says,
They
"Look,
got to
we,"
apply the pressure to Floyd and make him look like a punk if he doesn't make it a
and that's what
sanctioned
they're
fight.
doing.
Let's
That's
go
what they're saying.
Philippines. Let's go Manny Pacquiao, and let's go Netflix. Apply the
Yes,
pressure. Put the full court press
yes,
on
sir.
Mr. Mayweather.
Yes, sir. And they said, "Look,
Do the right thing for the fans.
this is what we signed up for. We signed up for a fight, a sanctioned fight." Shouts
And
out
if
to his
you're
brother
and
Julius.
if you're all of that, Money May, then why are you so afraid? And listen, Oscar De La Hoya, I'll keep it a buck. He looked like he was
Yeah,
blown out in that video, but I don't really care. He was making me laugh nonetheless.
yeah,
But when Oscar was basically expletively filling up the stat sheet and talking smack on Mayweather, the thing
yeah,
I liked about Oscar in that moment is that he took it like a man. He's like, when Pacquiao kicked my ass, I still fought him. In other words, he was
yeah,
saying, yeah, Pac-Man had his way with him. But Oscar's like, I
yeah,
feel great. And Oscar said, I'll
yeah,
fight Jake Paul. I'll get back in it. And I'm like, oh, Jesus. But
yeah.
hearing him call out Floyd Mayweather definitely entertained me. I'll put it to you like that. And Oscar also made a point saying that both the Mayweather father as well as the Mayweather uncle said that Oscar won that fight.
They sure did. They did.
And I'm not even saying I agree with them, but just the fact that they said it speaks something.
I called it a draw. But if I had to make a decision, I gave it to De La Hoya by like 115, 114. Um,
And the thing is, Idris, we've seen over the years in these kind of situations where you have marketability versus a legend that's running out of steam. If the fight is
yeah,
that close, unless if you literally put that champion on his ass or bloody him up to the point of no return, it's hard
yeah,
for boxing because boxing is always thinking about the next thing and the next thing. And in that regard, I hate to say it, but it's almost like WWE, how I talked about how Triple H has storylines planned. Now, boxing is real. I'm not saying wrestling isn't
mhm,
real, but the outcomes are predetermined. But boxing, if you
yeah,
don't make the unpopular decision and stop worrying about fights that are coming up next, it's
yeah,
gonna continue to hurt your sport because it's not about what's better for boxing. It's about who won the fight.
yeah, yep.
So get back to that, please and thank you. But boxing has always and forever had an issue with that.
I'm back.
All right.
Yeah, that's it, man. I mean, you
Yeah,
nailed
I
it.
think. And listen, I don't like to put people's issues up on here. I don't do that. But I'm just going to say this.
Yeah.
And if you're listening, you know who I'm talking to. Go to the source. I'm not
Uh
a
huh.
brokerer for two grown men to figure something out that I don't have a damn thing to do with.
Yeah.
That's all
Right.
I got. And I'm not going to take
It,
it a step further because, once again, this is not my thing. But what I will say is this: there is one
mhm,
common denominator that goes to other people instead of going to the source. And that's not the
right.
guy that I'm talking to right here. So I'm just going to leave that there. I'm not taking
Thank you.
sides on this, but two grown men need to talk it out. Or if you don't want to
I agree.
talk it out, that's your prerogative, but I don't want to hear about it anymore.
Right. It's just busting your balls, man. It's not. It's
And
not all that
and
serious.
if you don't feel that way, you're entitled to feel that way. But I'm
Right.
tired of hearing about it with all due respect.
I'm here.
Because if you got the gall to go on somebody's post, have the gall to text them on your cell phone.
Just talk to me, bro.
That's it. And that's all.
That's
I
it.
am out.
Peace.